Hi, I'm Steve. You can call me Steve. A viewer asks, since the winter solstice is supposed to be the shortest day of the year, why does it still continue to stay dark later in the mornings after the solstice has passed? Personally, I've never witnessed this, because I make a point not to get up when it's still dark. But if I have to, I'm usually headed down the neutrino mine, and in winter we get on the elevator before the sun comes up. Either way, I'm not in a position to note the time of the sunrise. This is a real thing. It's not based on people's perceptions. You've probably been told that days get shorter in winter because of the tilt of the Earth. The Earth spins on its axis, which gives us day and night, and the axis points off at an angle like this, instead of straight up and down. As the Earth goes around the sun, the axis keeps pointing at the same spot in the night sky. By sheer coincidence, the north end happens to point at the star. At 2 points in this orbit, one end of the axis is pointing directly away from the sun, the other is pointing towards it. This corresponds to winter for the away half, and summer for the forward half. And it's also why Australia has Christmas in the summer. The half of the planet pointing away from the sun spends more time in darkness than the half pointing towards it. You can prove this to yourself. I'd prove it for you, but the middle of a pandemic is not the best time to get supplies. Take a ball and draw 2 points directly opposite each other. Those are your poles. You'll also want to mark an equator halfway between them. Now draw a circle around the ball halfway between one of those poles and the equator. Take your ball and a flashlight into a dark room, tilt one of the poles away from the flashlight, and look at how much of that circle is illuminated. If you can't see anything, it's because you forgot to turn the flashlight on. I know I didn't tell you, but that part should have been implied. You should see that anywhere from a quarter to a third of that circle is lit up. Imagine a person standing on one point of that circle as the ball rotates around its axis. That person will spend a quarter to a third of the trip in light and the rest in darkness. That's the shortest day of the year. Okay, I've spent a lot of time talking about stuff that really doesn't answer the question. How come the shortest day of the year doesn't correspond to the latest sunrise? If the days get longer after the solstice, shouldn't the sun rays get earlier? There's more going on than just the tilt. The Earth's orbit isn't a perfect circle, it's an ellipse, which is a fancy math term for an oval. It's not a pronounced oval, but it's just oval enough to make a difference. Recall that as the Earth goes around the sun, the axis doesn't change where it's pointing. Consider a spot on the Earth's surface where the sun's illumination ends and the shadow begins. From the point of view of the spot, this is sunrise. It could also be sunset, but we're going to look at sunrise. When that spot on the surface makes one complete spin around the axis, it doesn't get back to sunrise, because the Earth's moved a little bit, but the axis hasn't. The spot needs to spin a little further for another 4 minutes or so to get back into the light. The key point here is that that's 4 minutes on average over the entire year. The Earth moves faster in its orbit in some part of the ellipse and slower in other parts, and kind of in the middle in between, which means how far that spot needs to spin to find sunrise is slightly different every day. It doesn't help that the ends of the ellipse don't match up with the solstices either. They're about 2 weeks behind. This mismatch, combined with the elliptical orbit, induces complications beyond my ability to show you without any graphical talent. But it all contributes to the weirdness that is the day-night cycle. The sun actually does rise later in the mornings after the winter solstice. You're not imagining it, even though everything you've been told says it should be rising earlier. That's because everything you've been told is an oversimplification, and it assumes the day is equally balanced around noon. Even this video is an oversimplification, because I've glossed over some things and hand-waved some others, because to be honest, I don't fully understand every detail myself. If it's confusing to you, you're not alone. It just means that reality is never as neat and tidy as it's presented in elementary school textbooks. Thanks for watching. I've been Steve.